Hey, it's Nay. Welcome to Hey Nay. So, first you're probably thinking, yo, Nay, why you got a hat on inside? I don't know. I just felt like having a hat on, so I'm keeping the hat on. Anyway, the topic for this episode is exes and dating. Um, and I have a few questions to answer, and that'll be it. So the first question is, should you continue to talk to your ex? And what about if you're in a new relationship? Great question. So, um, it this and this kind of goes along with breakups and dating, um, which you should check out, by the way. But you should, I think, if there's not closure, then you need to be reached. You need to try to have that closure, and of course it depends on the circumstance of how the relationship ended. Um, but there should be some sort of communication, and it could be spaced out. It doesn't have to be right away. But um, there shouldn't be like a frequent conversation. Like you guys broke up and you're just constantly talking and talking. No, there should be a change in. There should be a change in communication. There should be a change in language. You shouldn't be talking as much as you used to. You shouldn't be talking as many times as as you used to. It should have a different tone. Like it shouldn't be the same type of conversations. That's for one. Um, and especially if you were the one if you were the breakupee, like the person you were broken up with, um, you have the right to respond or communicate however you kind of want to. You kind of have a little bit of that right and that little bit of that power in that sense. If you're the breakuper, you know, you can throw, you can, throw the net out and see if you catch anything. But I wouldn't expect anything. I wouldn't expect anything. You might be doing it as a gesture, but if it's amicable, you can communicate. But like again, it can't be the same. It cannot be the same at all. Now, if you're in a new relationship and you're talking with your ex, that's a completely different story, I must say. Only because I think you need to communicate that with your current partner that that you're reaching out to your ex. And I know some people are like, like really, like do I really have to tell them that? I think so. They should know these things. Be like, I still feel bad about how things ended with my ex. Um, I want to reach out to her or him and see how they're doing. Is that okay? The as long as the communication is open, they usually, your partners are usually okay with it. I've never really heard stories of people really being so, um, you know, opposed to something like that. So I think as long as you're communicating that with your partner, and they know what's going on, you know, then all is cool. If your ex is reaching out to you, how do you deal with that when you're in a new relationship? I think you can, you respond however you feel you need to respond. If you're responding whenever you can, if there's a conversation going back and forth, okay. But then after that conversation sort of dims down or, ends, you just share with your partner, oh, my ex reached out to me and we were talking about this and blah, blah, blah. Just let them know. Keep them in the loop. Just keep them in the loop. That's all you got to do is keep them in the loop. Um, the other part to that is, if they reached out to you and you don't know what to say, ask your partner. Ask your partner what you should say. Be like, oh, my ex has reached out to me. I don't know what to say. Can you help me? I think that's fine too. There's nothing wrong with that. Because remember, if you're in a new relationship, the past should be over. The past should be ended. It should be a chapter, a chapter closed, a book closed, excuse me. It should be, you should be in a new stage of your life. So um, you don't want to drag your past relationship into your new relationship. If it jumps in, address it and then push it back out. Simple as that. Next question. What if you hook up with your ex? What does that mean? Interesting. So, if you hook up with your ex, it can mean various different things. There's a few of them I'm going to highlight now. one, it could just be a stand up, hook up. Sometimes they call it what we have like breakup sex or things like that. That sometimes that works with people because people just want to, be intimate or involved with another person one last time before things end. Or they want to make them feel good, or they want to feel good themselves. Um, and you know, if that's the case, do 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 whatever you want to do. But if you find yourself repeatedly hooking up with your ex, then I think that you know, even if it's just making out and things like that, I think there's something to that. That means that you're not really done with this relationship. This relationship is not over. This is what they usually call complicated, because you're in this limbo and you don't really know. It's like we said we're not together, but yet we're still doing things that we would do if we were together, and that is a weird territory. Um, but you can't just be sprung along. No one, you cannot be in a relationship, when the relationship essentially, doesn't exist. It's like you said this is over, you said this is done, but yet you're still trying to be here. Um, it's like, closing the factory and then coming in the next day. Is that a bad analogy? It's like a store going out of business, but then you showing up the next day to work. It's like, it doesn't work. You need to move on. And sometimes we keep doing this back and forth, but a lot of times if we cling on to our ex, especially if in most ways we've moved on, it prevents us from going into a new relationship. We won't be able to go to the next step. So we have to be very mindful of that. Um, you know, do you always want to live in the past? Um, do you want to be cling to someone else who may even be moved on themselves? You don't want to be a part of that. I think you want to avoid those certain circumstances. But I think if you're hooking up with your ex a lot of, very frequently, it might mean that you're not done. It might mean you're not done. And if that's the case, you need to have that talk. But when you do that, everything is reopened, all those feelings, everything is reopened. And you can possibly set yourself up to be let down or even broken up with again. So you have to be prepared for those type of things. Can exes be friends? Great question. And I definitely talked about this a few times in multiple episodes. I think it is possible. Again, it depends on the circumstances of how the relationship ended, but I think over time you can be friends. Because there's a lot of clarity that comes with it too. In my experience, I find that people I have been um, involved with in any capacity, I see that, as time passes on, like, everything is fine. I don't really, it was good for me. A lot of these breakups and a lot of um, you know, these relationships that end, sometimes they're good. Like, sometimes they're good. They're good for you in the long run. You know, it prepared you for the next step in your life, whether that is, career wise, um, just, you know, personally, like yourself, as well as for a future relationship, So I think it's good. I think it's good most of the time, especially, and I think if you're able to be friends again, it shows that you're really over it. It shows that you're really over the situation, which is good. I think that's good. I think it shows a lot of strength, but it shows wisdom too. That you're over the situation, that it's not lingering, um, and I think that's fine. Now, I'm not talking about best friends. I'm not talking about like hang out with each other all the time. I'm not talking about hang out with each other just alone. I'm not talking about that time. I'm just saying like maybe not necessarily just acquaintances, but maybe a step above acquaintances, in which you're cordial around each other. You know, if if you're in the same room, it's fine. If you're amongst mutual friends, it's fine. If you're having a conversation in a party environment, that's fine. If you make jokes and stuff about the past, that's great. Things like that, that is totally fine. I wouldn't expect the two of you to do things exclusively on your own. Like, that's a little weird. But just being around each other and being able um, to tolerate each other's presence and company is great. It shows that you've moved on, and it's it's highly respectable to me. And I always try to lead by that example too. Like, I think I think we hold on too much to things. We hold on to it. Doesn't make sense. It really doesn't, because it's why do you always have to keep holding on to these things? It doesn't make sense. Like I said, you don't have to be buddy buddy, but stop holding on to things that have already been over. Why hold on to something that's already gone? So I think we should really think about things like that. But that's pretty much it. I don't want to keep you guys any longer. But think about it, and I know I feel like everyone has sort of fell victim to this, in which they've reached out to their ex, or they even miss their ex. But again, you just have to self-reflect and think about, what does that mean to you? What does this all mean? But again, if they're your ex, that means that they're your ex. That means that they're in the past. That means it's no longer. And you cannot move forward if you're still stuck in the past. You cannot step forward. You cannot step forward with your right foot if your left foot is stuck in tar. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. But you get the point of what I'm saying. So thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, like, share, and love. And remember to always start your day off with a hey. Goodbye.